Hey, everybody, we just saw some important inflation data. We got the CPI inflation data for September of this year, and that has a lot of implications for Social Security. We're going to dive into how much your Social Security tax can be in 2025 if you're a high earner. Before we dive into this, please take a minute and check out the link you see on your screen, fool.com/Frankel. You can get a great message from my sponsor, The Motley Fool. It's the best way to support this work I'm doing on YouTube. And be sure to hit the subscribe button you see on your screen to keep up with all of my Social Security and other finance content. So, we're going to dive in here. The maximum Social Security tax you see on your screen right now, Social Security tax is assessed at a 12.4% rate. Now, you don't pay all of that. Half of that is paid by your employer, and the other half is paid by you as an employee. So that means it's a 6.2% Social Security tax rate for each of you, employers and employees. Now, if you're self employed, like I am, you pay both the employer and employee portions, which collectively is often referred to as the self employment tax. So you do pay that 12.4% if you are self employed, you own a business, things like that. So, in addition to this, Medicare tax adds another 2.9% on top of that, or 1.445% each for employers and employees. Now, while Medicare tax is applied to all of your earned income, you can make $1 million, that's still the Medicare tax rate. In fact, higher earners get an additional Medicare tax of 0.9%, but that's for a different video. But Social Security tax is only assessed on up to a certain amount of income. Um, and it changes every year according to these inflation numbers that I just referred to. So in 2024, the year we're currently in, the maximum taxable Social Security earnings is $168,600. If we multiply that by that 6.2% rate, that means the most that you'll have to pay in Social Security tax for this year is $10,453.20. So just some quick math to show that. And it is double that if you are self employed, meaning your maximum tax would be about $20,900. So if you earn more than $168,600, let's say you earn $1 million this year, this is the most you'll have to pay in Social Security tax under current law. We'll get into that in a minute. For 2025, because of the inflation adjustment, the maximum taxable earnings threshold is rising to $176,100 in 2025. This will increase the maximum Social Security tax by or to about $10,918 for employees and double that or $21,836 for self-employed people. So if we think back to that slide before, if you're an employee, you could pay almost $500 more in Social Security tax in 2025. If you're self-employed, it's more than $900 difference between the maximum tax in 2024 and the maximum tax in 2025. So it's a pretty substantial difference. This is if you're an employee, this is just paid as part of your paycheck. Sometimes Social Security and Medicare tax are considered kind of together, but and some pay stubs will break it down. It's always broken down on a W-2, but a lot of people consider this tax together. So it's also worth noting that the taxable maximum that we just mentioned is also used to calculate Social Security benefits. If for people who are reaching Social Security age this year, that's the limit that will be used to calculate their benefits. And a lot of people, to put it mildly, are not fans of the way Social Security tax works. Most of the U.S. tax code is what's called a progressive tax system, meaning that higher rates are imposed on people who make more money. That's what the tax brackets are. If you don't make a lot of money, you might be in the 10% tax bracket or even the 0% tax bracket. There's a 12% tax bracket. If you make a lot of money, your tax rate might be in one of the higher tax brackets, which go all the way up to 37%. So that's what a progressive tax system is. Social Security is the only part of our tax system that's really a regressive tax system, meaning that as a percentage of their income, lower earners pay more. I mentioned the maximum Social Security tax is a little over $10,000. So someone who makes $1 million is only paying about 1% of their income in Social Security tax at the most. Meanwhile, someone who makes under that limit, under 168,000 and some dollars, is paying 6.2%. So a lot of people are not fans of that. So it's entirely possible that the laws governing that taxable maximum will change in the future. And it also is worth mentioning Social Security isn't in the best financial condition, so they could use the increased tax revenue. One popular proposal would create a second Social Security tax bracket um, that would involve all income greater than $400,000 being taxed for Social Security as well. So, if that were enacted, you would still pay the 6.2% tax rate on any income up to the annual limit, which for this year, as we saw, was just a little over 100 or 176,000 ish. So you would pay the 6.2% rate to that, pay nothing on any income above that, unless you make more than $400,000, and then above that would be taxed again at that 6.2% rate. So that would be a way to make sure higher earners are paying a little bit more into the system. That $400,000 isn't set in stone. That was thrown around by the Biden administration in the early days of their administration. There's been quite a bit of inflation since then, so that could end up being, $500,000 or some other amount. That 400,000 isn't set in stone, but the idea is that a second Social Security bracket would be created. Other people are more aggressive and say that the taxable maximum should be done away with entirely, and it should just be 6.2% on all of your income, no matter how much money you earn. Um, that would definitely go a long way to solving the Social Security's financial shortfall. Um, but the Social Security benefit formula would then need to be reworked, possibly because it takes into account all taxable income. That would create kind of no upper income or no upper limit on what the Social Security benefit could be. So a lot of moving parts here. It's entirely possible that the taxable maximum will change in the future. Current projections have Social Security running out of money in their trust funds by 2034. So as that gets closer, the sense of urgency to actually get something done will likely increase. But I don't expect it to happen in 2025. Um, Finally, in addition to the inflation changes on the taxable maximum that we've been talking about, inflation also affects Social Security in a bunch of other ways. Specifically, the annual cost of living adjustment, or COLA, that was just announced the day I'm recording this, is going to be 2.5% in 2025. It also affects the maximum possible Social Security benefit. It affects the earnings test, or the amount of money you can earn before your benefits start to get withheld. Um, it also affects things like SSI and disability benefits. I'm going to cover these in separate videos, so be sure to watch my channel for these. Be sure to hit the subscribe button again, and please leave me any questions or comments you might have about Social Security taxes. I do my best to answer every one of them individually, and any other Social Security topics you might have. But thanks for watching, and I will see you next time. I want to thank The Motley Fool for sponsoring this video. The Motley Fool is a company that provides investing insight and stock recommendations for investors of all skill sets and risk levels. You all know how much I love researching new stocks and trying to find the next best investment. So I'm proud to partner with The Motley Fool to bring you 10 stock picks from the popular product Stock Advisor. Stock Advisor has beaten the market by nearly 5 times. So go to fool.com/Frankel to get your 10 stock picks now. The Motley Fool Stock Advisor returns are 767% as of July 5th, 2024, and are measured against the S&P 500 returns of 163% as of July 5th, 2024.